rating, so I tend to speak loud. Works out fairly well. Okay, so unfortunately, Carl Profit couldn't be here at Press and Business. He's Executive Director of Security for British Columbia Ministry of Justice, and they run this guy off his feet. So you get just me on this. But between Carl and me, we've got about 70 years of experience in the security business on both sides. On the vendor side, where we submit proposals to potential clients and they hire us, and on the other side, I spent 13 years in healthcare security and was heavily involved in hiring security consultants to do piles of projects for me. So that's where we come from. Now, in the planning and tender preparation process, really it's your homework. This all falls on you as the owner or the owner's representative that's looking to get a project done. There are a lot of project planning steps that your business needs to go through prior to tendering bids for security consulting services. You want to make sure that you're going to get what you really need. This is particularly difficult when you have someone driving it that sees something that's very flashy in security product or processes that doesn't necessarily transition to your own business. So, big thing, what are your areas of security concern? Why are you concerned? And do you have corporate support for evaluating and mitigating these concerns? This requires input from the departments involved in the leadership groups. It's really important to get them involved because they're the folks that will put the brakes on your project later if they feel left out. They're the ones that are most impacted by loss events, security breaches, and events or trends that are affecting the corporate bottom line. And let's face it, most of us, that's what we have to deal with. Loss events, theft, inventory shrinkage, if you're in a product providing business, and lost time from equipment or facility damage or injury to your people. Security breaches can cover a wide range of issues. Intrusion by forced entry or social engineering, particularly troublesome. Other methods of bypassing physical and operational security. And these aren't one-time events. If someone's managed to do it once, it will probably happen over and over again. There are very few absolutely unique security failures. There's something that the bad guys have learned from somewhere else and they use it over and over again. Corporate support is easy to obtain as lip service. Yeah, we really want you to do this. That's the problem. They'll say it, but when it comes to impacting them because it changes the way they do business or has an impact on their bottom line, there tends to be an issue. When it comes to rigorously enforcing security protocols, the C-suite often balks at actively enforcing security measures. One of the big showstoppers is when you've got big upfront costs. Say you have unauthorized access all over the place. You require access control systems or you require a rekey of your facility. the upfront costs are enormous. That's when people tend to really put the brakes on. Oh my God, you can't spend that kind of money. This is the business we're all in, really, is sales. Selling the benefits of security reviews, threat risk assessments, and security design. You've got to get all the players involved so that you don't get anyone trying to stop you. Couch your pitch to the people that are actually going to drive things for you, the ones that are going to help you. I always call it, use the principle of enlightened self-interest. Figure out what these people really want and how your security program that you're trying to develop, your threat risk assessment or your security design is going to benefit them. It's going to get their staff around quicker. It's going to let them track them as necessary, provide safety measures for things like if there's a chemical facility, increased access control gives you an ability to check your mustering. Lets your staff check in just by badging at a mustering point, things like that.
Question for you. Yeah, what's your definition of what good security should look like? So what should good security be? How would I know if I'm seeing good security?
That depends on the kind of operation, the kind of facility and business you're involved with. For example, if you're, say, a diamond mine, you want to check people going out very thoroughly, make sure they aren't smuggling uncut diamonds out, that sort of stuff. But if you're, say, toilet paper production facility, you aren't looking at who's taking anything out. The value of what they might take out is very small, especially considering the bulk. So good security is preventing people from getting in and doing damage to equipment, making things unsafe for people, that sort of stuff. It's a very different thing for every kind of business. So it's hard to say what good security is. You want to keep the bad people out and have only the people you want coming in get into your facility. But you want to protect whatever your assets are, whether it's intellectual property, whether it's product, trade secrets, like it depends where it is. So it really varies a lot with every kind of business and every kind of facility. Basically, you want generally a safe, secure workplace and safe, secure storage, and you don't want your inventory to shrink, whatever it may be, to a point where it's going to hurt your business. You're always going to end up with some sort of inventory shrinkage, even if it's only through damage or spoilage or that sort of thing. But good security is unique to each facility. And it's one of the things in the safety business, things are very well defined in a lot of industries. In security, not so much. Security is just in the last 2 decades or so really started to become codified and standardized. Anyone could call themselves a security consultant. Now it's becoming more rigorous. They need some kind of professional designations in the security industry. This kind of thing wasn't, that may have existed previously, but it wasn't accepted by people. No one really cared. So, all right, so you've got a CPP designation. Big deal, what's that mean? Now people understand certified protection professional designation indicates you have a certain level of security management, experience and knowledge. Physical security professional, PCI professional, investigator, professionally certified investigator, that sort of stuff. Those things all come together to help you get better people for whatever kind of work you're getting, whether it's an investigation of individuals or whether you're looking for someone to help you secure your facility or manage your security systems. What do you want the outside experts to review? This is probably the hardest part for most non-security professionals. What do you actually want them to do? You don't want them to just, make my place safer, make my place more secure. Where are your problems? What if you identify that prompts you to be ready to spend money, and it's not cheap? For example, my rate is typically $180 an hour. And I do lots of projects that are $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I'm not shy about billing for my expertise. You want to make sure that when you pay me, you've got a result that's actually going to solve some sort of problem for you. This information has to be taken directly from your own reviews and the commentary from the various levels of stakeholders. You need to have something concrete. Here's what our problems have been identified as by our various stakeholders. They aren't security professionals, but they know when they've got a problem of some sort. Security and life safety are tightly intertwined these days. We see it all the time. Legislation and regulations, particularly where I work primarily, which is mostly Western Canada. The bar has been raised very quickly in the last 2 decades to a point where you better know what you're doing with security so that it doesn't impact life safety adversely. Really big deal. What particular aspects of security are you going to have reviewed? Security is a very broad field. It can be anything from guard force, where you have people checking activity, monitoring the facility for both safety and security. It can be information technology. If you want me to do an IT security review, I'll bring someone in to do it. I know enough about IT security to get me into really serious trouble. If you want investigations, I can do investigations, though I'm not licensed for them at the present time. I would probably bring in an investigator on my team. Someone who's a licensed PI who has a lot of background in this kind of thing, so he doesn't make any mistakes and he doesn't do anything that is in breach of regulations. If you want someone for physical and operational security, I'm your guy. And I have a lot of my competitors come to me to help them out with that aspect. So you really need to define what your security problems are so that you end up with the proper people to deal with your issues. So there's IT and IMIS, physical security, technical security. If you want someone to design your CCTV system, you need to know what you want to use it for, where you want to use it, and all the legal issues around it. You need to have privacy impact assessments, a whole variety of things that make it worthwhile. I see so many systems put in where the end user goes, this is a pile of junk. It doesn't do anything for us. The big part of the problem is they didn't define what their problem was, and they hired a security integrator directly to put something in. The technicians are good, but they're technical guys. They make sure that the cameras are focused, that they're properly mounted, that they're weatherproof, that they transmit their signal in whatever fashion to wherever it needs to go. But you need someone to define for them where that camera goes, what it's looking at, what it's supposed to accomplish. Are you trying to identify people? Are you trying to monitor activity and traffic? Are you using it as an optical tripwire? Basically, as an alarm sensor. But what do you want to do with it? Do you have sufficient lighting? Or are the cameras that you're specifying, or that the integrator is specified, suitable for working in all kinds of lighting conditions? Simple things like indoor and outdoor cameras. An indoor camera doesn't adjust for changing light levels. An outdoor camera you may use indoors because it has an auto iris and it may have autofocus to pick up on motion, so it will actually focus on something. Protecting patents, trade secrets, proprietary technology and processes. This is very much a process-oriented kind of security assessment. I did a job for a pretty large technology company, and they have partners that do billions of dollars a year in business that come in and work with them to shape their product so that they can use it in their equipment. They didn't bother to tell me until the project was nearly over that they stored platinum on site. I did a complete security assessment. It was one thing that they never bothered to tell me until right at the very end. Dangerous, dangerous problems. Privacy impact assessments, confidentiality requirements. Especially for things like video, you definitely need to run privacy impact assessments. Does the areas that the video views, is it considered public? Is it considered anywhere that a person would have an expectation of privacy, like a change room, a washroom, any of that sort of stuff? Or can the organization say, no, we're good with all that? You need to have a look at that. An excellent tool to guide everyone developing a project is called a project charter. I am shocked at the number of projects I'm involved with that do not use these. Big projects, multi-million-dollar projects, and I never see a project charter. I asked for it, and the architect goes, what? Really dangerous. The document should never be more than a couple of pages long, and here's the dirty dozen points of the project charters. The name, the file number. You need to be able to search for the thing either by name or electronically by a file number that's going to be on a bunch of other documentation. Project charter date, pretty simple. Sometimes, especially with security projects, you have multiple runs at getting approval on it. Or people will want to tweak it. Well, we want you to look at this, or no, we don't want you to deal with this thing, because they know it's going to open a huge can of worms. So, the project charter date is really important, so it tells you which iteration it is. And put a revision number on it. That makes it easy. What are the project goals? It's really simple. Everyone wants to get on with it. What problems are supposed to be solved? Generally, what problems are you trying to solve? It doesn't need to be super detailed. Remember, this is only a couple of pages. Deliverables. Reports, plans, installation of hardware and software, systems, processes, assessment or investigation findings. Define your deliverables in brief, simple terms. Remember, a lot of different people may be looking at this. Keep it simple. Keep it straightforward. Scope definition. This is one thing that's really, really important. What the project includes, and I also put in what the project excludes. So we're looking at putting in electronic access control in our facility, as an example. What it does not include is rekeying the facility. It's really important. The important thing about that is you want to avoid what's called Scold Creep, because it's a death knell for your budget. People will add, oh, this little thing and that little thing. You want to make sure that you define what you're trying to accomplish so that you don't end up with a bunch of things that the originators of the project or the people that initially approved it weren't aware of. Because that'll just drive people crazy and could really get you a bad reputation in your organization. You want to make sure that you define your scope and you don't change it. Or if you do change it, everyone needs to sign on for it. They all need to be aware of it. So it might be a revision to the project chart. Next thing, and we'll get it up on the slide, but project milestones. When our reports do various aspects of them, what kind of reports are due, who they go to, really the basics, but define all of that. So everyone works from knowledge. They've got it down in writing in the project charter, and it makes life really simple. So who's all this stuff go to? Well, it goes to the security director, or it goes to the director of finance, or it goes to whoever it may be that's assigned to get that information. But it becomes really easy. You're trying to get people to stop working from assumptions. Those are the things that will kill you. So there are certain assumptions. Best guesses and peripheral relationships. This is for the consultants. They really need to have this kind of stuff. They don't want to get blindsided by various factors in your organization that aren't readily apparent to them. They're coming from outside. They may know your kind of business, but they don't necessarily know how your organization works. Project organizational structure. Everyone should know for sure how this project is organized. Who's at the top of the food chain, who the various players down below are. This easiest way to describe it, who's who in the zoo. And sometimes this is a tool or a weapon to keep other people from interfering with the project. If they weren't brought in initially, they shouldn't be able to butt in later. Project authorization. Get someone with sufficient authority to sign off. They're the ones authorizing it and supporting it formally. You have their signature on a document. They're the person that gets referred to if there's a turf war starts at any level in the organization. Another thing, give a specific dollar budget for the security consulting project. And is the money budgeted for likely security upgrades? It's a good thing to know. Your consultants like to know. How much have they got to play with in terms of recommendations? They don't want to recommend a Rolls Royce when all you need is a Chevy, or when all you can afford is that. They may want to set things up, okay, you can start with this, it can be expanded to deal with whatever. It can be scaled up. Very tough area to navigate. We all know how hard it is to get money. First recommendation, figure out what your probable sponsor's hot buttons are. Be prepared to manipulate the hell out of them. Don't be afraid to ask for ballpark guesses as to the cost for a consulting project. I get asked all the time, I want to do this, what's it going to cost me? And I just do a thumbnail estimate. You're probably looking at this much if you want me to do it. Is there a timeline for the security consulting project? Potential vendors will need to know these limits, part of their factors in quoting on the project. So is this going to be something that's compressed, they have to put a lot of resources into in a very short period of time? Or is it something that's going to be stretched out, that they can take their time on, gather information from manufacturers or other people with specific expertise?
As you're going through those conversations, are there specific questions that you should be asking your leaders about where they see the gaps or the needs in security? For example, do you have questions around perimeter security, or are there other things we want a security service to do? For example, like fire extinguishers. What's like a standard list of things that you should go through as you're talking about the security consulting project that you should keep into consideration to get accomplished? Obviously, I don't think anyone wants to start trying to solve world hunger right out the gate, but you have to have some primary things that you want to look for when you're considering a security consultant. And I'm interested in what those would be the top 5 or 6 things that you would expect one to do.
Okay, so as far as standard questions, typically what I do is I deal with clients that say, we have a problem at this facility. Matter of fact, I'm working on one right now, and it's a works yard. So they've got millions and millions of dollars worth of vehicles. They service those vehicles and other vehicles owned by the organization in their own shops. They can do massive rebuilds. So they've got lots of equipment. They've got lots of vehicle parts. They've got all sorts of other activities going on in this area. They said, yeah, we have a security problem. We've had this happen and we've had that happen. I try and back them up. What do you want to accomplish? And I try and push away from the equipment or the toys or the very specific thing. We'll get to that eventually, but what do you want to be? Well, we want to keep the people that aren't supposed to be here out, and we want our people to be able to go in and out. Plus, we need to do this and this and this. I try and back them up to the point where, instead of we want cameras or we want card access, Okay, we want to be able to observe what's going on. We want to be able to control who gets in here. Okay, let's start from that and see what your issues. And then I start to give them pointed questions. Well, who's got keys to the facility? Do you monitor who's got keys? How long has it been since you've rekeyed the facility? What are your key control processes? What are your access control processes? How often do you check to make sure that people aren't handing a card around, or that they've lost a card and they managed to come in with their co-workers and they haven't told anyone? Like, do you have a policy issue? And do you have an issue between management and the union that prevents you from enacting good policy issues that aren't punitive but are going to get these people to cooperate? So there are a lot of things, and it just takes a lot of shapes, but I try and back them away from the toys and the very hot button that they've got me coming in for. Because really, if I solve that problem, there's all this other stuff going on that I might have been able to deal with a different kind of solution that encompasses all of it for the same kind of money.
There's no justice solutions.
Yeah, and everyone is guilty of that. I'm guilty of that. You know, we are in our personal lives too. Oh yeah, that would be great. Well, no, what's it going to accomplish for you? Let's figure out why we think we need it. And maybe there's another solution to it. Maybe it doesn't cost us anything out of pocket. Or maybe we just want toys. Time is money for any consultant, and I sort of alluded to that. So if you have a compressed timeline, they may have to bring in associates or other people from their organization to help with it. There is when the project can't be done in the allotted or available time. I had a client say, I have roughly 2 months. I have a partner of a company that does $5 billion a year in business worldwide that is coming in, and they're going to do a security assessment on our facility. I need our physical and operational security reviewed. I need our CCTV systems reviewed. And I had to stop them right there and say, we aren't going to get it all done. I don't care how much resources I throw at it. We are not going to get it all done. What I did was I said, let's look at the most important thing. And then we took it from there. Okay. Go create the RFQ. You know, we're running short on time. Oh, not too bad. We got about 10 minutes, so I'll just sort of burn our way through. Who's going to create a request for quotation? Who will review the document for scope, timeline, required qualifications, and required relevant vendor experience? Hopefully you've got someone in your organization that can help, or someone outside that can help with that. Why a request for quotation instead of request for proposals? I consider requests for proposals the lazy man's option. Define what you're trying to deal with as much as possible. Don't just fire a shotgun and expect that scattered shot to go. If you don't have expertise in writing a security-based request for quotation, find someone that has. Scope must be embedded in virtual concrete. Again, Scold Creep. You must have a desired outcome in your request for quotations. What are you trying to do? Vendor qualifications and experiences they relate to your specific needs are vitally important. And again, I was talking about how the security business in particular has not been highly standardized. Research before you tender the RFQ, appropriate organizations or vendors. Other businesses similar to yours may be available to steer you toward or away from specific companies or individuals. Everyone talks to their competitors at some level. They'll give you advice. You give them advice. It helps everyone. Search out security consultancies that specialize in the areas outlined by your request for quotation. If you can't properly cover all of the areas of research with a single vendor, consider dividing the project into a couple of areas of expertise. So if you have an operational security and an IT security issue, you may want to split that into two separate projects. Evaluate bidder qualifications, credentials, related experience, licensing, and insurance. Where I come from, my company has a security business license issued by the province. I have to have a security consultant's license issued by the province. Because I work in Vancouver, I have to have a business license for a security business issued by the City of Vancouver. Any city I go into, I also must be licensed for. Once I do a site assessment, I better have my license fee paid up for that, particularly if it's going for a building permit or for a required security survey for a business application, because they'll throw it out if I'm not properly licensed. The client will be tipped. Review available qualifications and credentials through security-related professional organizations and societies. The biggie, of course, is ASIS International, American Society for Industrial Security International, CPP, PCI, and PSP are the big ones. And they're bringing a bunch of others out that don't mean too much, but those three are probably the big three that you see. Check licenses for all relevant levels of government, as I just mentioned. Current general liability and errors and omissions insurance policies must be requested and verified. They can actually very quickly get from their insurance broker a statement from the insurance provider that says, yes, this company is insured under us currently, and here's what the terms of the insurance are. Workers' compensation premium payments must be current. Little thing, a lot of people don't think of it. My fee proposals always have that I am currently covered under workers' compensation in British Columbia's WorkSafe BC. And here's the policy number, so you can actually go on their website, check and verify that. Hiring a large consulting firm does not guarantee a better finished product. I've dealt with so many large consultancies, not just in the security business, but in engineering and construction, you name it, that they're a money-making machine, but their product is not necessarily great. So, one thing to be aware of. Ask for and check references. In the security business, references are really hard to come by. If people have a security problem, they don't like to talk about it, and they don't like their providers to talk about it. I always get approval in writing from my clients if I'm going to use them as a reference. Check each item in the RFQ is accounted for in the quotation document. Some companies do a very sloppy job when they submit their proposal. If your organization has staff with specific experience in managing the RFQ and bidding process, use them. I'm not an expert in it. I've learned a lot over the years, but there are some people who are just geniuses at it, and they know how to do this so that there are no legal means of getting tripped up. Select your bid evaluation team from the groups or business units that will be most impacted by findings of the consulting project. They need to know what's going on. They need to feel like they've got an oar in the water. Don't be the sole arbiter for scoring bid submissions if the value of the contract is over a simple single bidder award threshold. Some organizations have like a $50,000 limit or a $100,000 limit. Make sure you aren't over that. Generate a purchase order so funding for the project is set aside in a specific budget interval. Your accounting department will love you for it. Provide appropriate signatures in a contract as a successful bidder. Nothing should be allowed to begin until both parties have their copies of the signed contract in hand. No assumptions. Provide a workplace safety orientation to the entire security consulting team. Orient the team to your organization and facilities. If personal protective equipment is required, make certain the consultants all understand the requirement and that they abide by it. I make sure to keep a full set of PPE in the trunk of my car. So if I go on a site, I've got everything I need. Specialized safety training is required at any juncture of the project. To stop work and have all relevant consulting team members complete the training or be certified as necessary. I'm preaching to the choir here. Alert staff, or not, as appropriate. You may not want people to know that it's happening, especially if it's an operational security issue. The security project is underway and that specific identified individuals will be in their work areas, especially if you're doing penetration testing or something like that on a facility. Provide escorts as necessary. A secured office or technical workspace might also be necessary for them. Just like when you have any other kind of auditor, they may need a space. Plan ahead for scheduled reviews of the project's progress. Don't wait until the very end. That's just buying tons of trouble. Communication is really a big deal. Especially when your management they're used to the security business. I've been in some places where they don't like security. No, we want people to just come in. They need to understand, here's what you're trying to deal with. Here's what's going to help you. Progress reports let you know when they're running into trouble. As the saying goes, the object is to drain the swamp, right? Aren't it to get in turf wars or anything else? Promptly review submitted draft reports against the deliverables. Don't shoot the messenger. I give people really bad news all the time. They aren't happy. But don't blame me for it. You're the guys with the problem. Carefully researched and crafted report will ultimately be a useful tool for moving your security processes forward. Don't be seduced by companies that basically provide reports by the pound. Meet with the consultants and provide detailed information regarding changes that are required for the final reports. You may need some things changed, wording changed, or find something that's inaccurate in the report regarding your facility. So check it, get them to make the changes as necessary. They're intended to provide an accurate assessment of your particular areas of concern. If the consultant's requirement for documenting their due diligence is an issue, you might ask to have the items in a separate document, not attached to the main report. When the final reports are submitted to your satisfaction, recover identification. This is part of good housekeeping. Access cards, key sets, and request an invoice. You need to get all that stuff dealt with. Open quick. Formally close the project, get the invoice, and prepare for the next steps. Pay the invoice promptly. You want these guys to be prepared to work for you again as necessary. Security's a dynamic process. It's not static. It's always changing. Don't expect it to be a one and done. Hiring and managing security consultants is an integral part of the security continuum. You'll do it again and again.